Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and as you can see from this curtain backdrop, I'm travelling on assignment and had not planned to record an episode today. But it's impossible to ignore what has taken place in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories during the past 24 hours. But what I want to speak about specifically is the way the US media is helping Israel lay the groundwork for the next Palestinian genocide. Yes, genocide, and I'm not using that word lightly here. You see, when I turned on the television at 7 a.m, one Israeli spokesperson after another was brought on to parrot Israeli government talking points to portray Jewish Israelis as the victims of Palestinian terrorism. And not one Palestinian voice was invited to counter these lies, because their story of dispossession and displacement has always been erased from history. Worse, these networks deliberately blur the contours and realities of the conflict by pretending the violence began the moment Palestinians dare to resist the unspeakable crimes against humanity Israel has committed in Gaza since 2009. The year it locked 2 million Palestinians in a steel cage. What the US media doesn't want you to know is the violence began the moment Israel ethnically cleansed 800,000 Palestinians in 1948, forcing millions of others into a network of refugee camps, open-air prisons and concentration camps ever since. This violence was escalated when Israel illegally seized and colonized the Palestinian territories in 1967. This violence has escalated further in recent years via routine nighttime raids on the West Bank and routine bombing campaigns on Gaza, which has been accurately described as the world's largest concentration camp. It's high time the media compares apples with apples. I mean, when Polish Jews escaped the Warsaw Ghetto, obtained weapons and carried out resistance operations against their Nazi occupiers, did the American media call these Jews terrorists? Nope, never. Because international law and basic morality dictates that an occupied people have a right to resist their criminal and brutal occupiers using any means necessary, including violence. This right is enshrined in international law. You can look it up or read my 2017 article here. You see, because any comment or analysis in the media that doesn't take this fact into consideration is not only dishonest, but also immoral and dehumanizing. But when it comes to the criminal Zionist occupation of Palestine, the US media does exactly that. It dehumanizes the Palestinians as a barbaric and backward horde of radicalized Muslims, while portraying Israel as a beacon of light and a vessel of Christian Judeo values in the Middle East. And now that the Israeli Prime Minister has declared a new war against the Palestinians, the US media, including CNN, will operate as cheerleader-in-chief to bring about more unimaginable cruelty and barbarity against innocent Palestinian civilians. This so-called war will be carried out by the Middle East's most powerful military, backed by US weapons and intelligence, against a Palestinian enemy that possesses no army, no navy, no air force, no air defense systems, and no artillery. This won't be a war, this will be a genocide. But the US media will both sides this genocide by amplifying Palestinian resistance violence and downplaying and concealing Israel's war crimes and crimes against humanity. And Americans need to know that there's no both sides here. Israelis do not live under a foreign military occupation, but Palestinians do. Israelis don't have their land and home stolen from foreign settlers, but Palestinians do. Israelis do not live under a system of apartheid, but Palestinians do. And as this next Palestinian genocide gets underway, the US media will meekly call for calm. But as my friend Remy points out here, the US believes this so-called calm is achieved and maintained only when Gaza is bombed, villages are invaded, homes are bulldozed, journalists are shot, ambulances are attacked, mosques are vandalized, schools are tear-gassed, and Palestinians are massacred. This calm is shattered only when Palestinians finally respond and resist this Israeli savagery. Because only in America is retaliation against a criminal occupation considered terrorism. This is a sleight of hand that switches victim with perpetrator. And US media outlets want you to believe the occupier is the repressed. These guys.
النكبة الثانية מחנה פליטים תקום انت ودينك مسخرة ومسخرة ערבי טוב ערבי בקבר ערבי
These criminal settlers have been carrying out a slow-motion genocide in the occupied West Bank for years. These are the same thugs who will be called upon by the Israeli state to avenge and completely wipe out all Palestinian resistance. And let's be clear here, this next wave of violence against Palestinians promises to be the worst since 1948, leaving millions of Palestinian lives under immediate threat, adding to the 200 who have already been killed during the past 24 hours and adding to the more than 14,000 that have been killed since 1987. And make no mistake, the current Israeli government has been itching for a large-scale military operation against Palestinian resistance, one that will finish off the Palestinian people once and for all. These are the nightmarish realities. These are the nightmares ignored by the US media. These are the nightmares that good and decent American citizens cannot look away from. Your voice is needed now. Take to social media, write or call your elected representative and tell them you oppose Zionist barbarism. Because the only course of action that will bring about peace in the Middle East is an end to the criminal Israeli occupation. And finally, remember this. The State of Israel does not have a right to exist, but Palestinians have a right to resist. Because people have rights, not states. Anyway, that's my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain and grow the show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.